Listen, my son. Listen, son of my womb. Listen, my son. Answer to my prayers.
A wife of noble character, verses 10 to 31. Who can find a virtuous and capable wife? She is more precious than rubies. Her husband can trust her, and she will greatly enrich his life. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She finds wool and flax and busily spins it. She's like a merchant ship, bringing her food from afar. She gets up before dawn to prepare breakfast for her household and plans the day's work for her servant girls. She goes to inspect a field and buys it. With her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She's energetic and strong, a hard worker. She makes sure her dealings are profitable. Her lamp burns late into the night. Her hands are busy spinning thread, her fingers twisting fiber. She extends a helping hand to the poor and opens her arms to the needy. She has no fear of winter. For her household, for everyone has warm clothes. She makes her own bedspreads. She dresses in fine linen and purple gowns. Her husband is well known at the city gates, where he sits with the other civic leaders. She makes belted linen garments and sashes to sell to the merchants. She's clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. When she speaks, her words are wise, and she gives instructions with kindness. She carefully watches everything in her household and suffers nothing from laziness. Her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her. There are many virtuous and capable women in the world, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty does not last. But a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. Reward her for all she has done. Let her deeds publicly declare her praise.
Let's just pray before Andy comes to speak to us. Father, we thank you for your word. Thank you for the richness of it, for the variety of it. Father, sometimes we need help to draw lessons from it and to understand it. Thank you for the way that Andy has been working this week and that you've been speaking to him as well. Father, just now give us ears to listen and open hearts to take in and to understand. So bless us now as we turn to your word, and we ask in your name. Amen.
Just looking, carefully looking, because I think if I took a count, I'd be outnumbered. I think all us guys are out. A wonderful thing about our church family is just how much what goes on here depends upon women and your contribution to the life of this church and your contribution to the lives of not just your families, your workplaces, the places that you are, but actually to communities like this one. And we're so grateful to you for all that you bring to us. Now, I really dropped the ball on this one, didn't I? I kind of didn't organize this very well. We have two guys whose names in Greek mean manly, leading the service today. I mean, goodness me, it's just, a right mess. We'd have loved to have had a woman leading this morning. I would have loved to have had a woman preaching this morning, because you'd be 100% more qualified than me to say anything about this stuff at all. And I feel a little bit out of my depth. And I just want to tread really carefully, because I want to speak up for all you women and the roles that you have and all that you contribute and add to the world. I want to celebrate that and give thanks for it And I'm so grateful for it personally in my own life, for the women that are in my own life, both, I can look to my mother and others around me, my wife, and but the women I've worked with over the years, the women that I work with now, and the women that surround my life in so many ways, I'm just so thankful for. So forgive me this moment, and I'm painfully aware just how easily this could slip into mansplaining. I think I've got a slide of this, Cameron. Yes. That's not what I want to do, okay? This is not some guy trying to put you women into a line of thinking or a way of saying it. I'm going to do my very, very best to avoid that this morning. So, and my next slide really just maybe is a little bit illustrative of what life is like for many of you, women folk. As a man, I can see that it's not easy to be a woman today in the world that we live in. Perhaps actually it's never been very easy, but actually it seems to me that the pressures are even greater now than they were in many ways. The expectations that society places on women are intense and significant, and amplified by always having to present the filtered perfection that's demanded of social media. It'd be all too easy, I think, for all of us, and you women in particular, to hear Proverbs 31 as one more demanding thing. But it's not here to condemn. It's not here to condemn you this morning. So don't read or hear this for the things that you are not. It's so easy to read through this account and think, man, this woman, who is she? How could she do all of this? So don't read or hear this for the things that you're not, but for what it actually is and how it's supposed to be. A celebration of your womanhood, of the things that you are, or the things that you can achieve because of who God has made you to be. I think that's really, really important. Now, Proverbs is really, now you've got to remember, first of all, that Proverbs is 3,000 at least, maybe older, but at least 3,000 years old. And some of these Proverbs may stretch back beyond. So it's hardly surprising, is it, that it's directed towards the education of a young man. It's supposed to be, the wisdom is directed towards the education of a young prince or somebody who's going to become a ruler, and to educate them. So we have right away in chapter 1, we get that tone right from the very beginning, because it speaks, verse 8, listen, my son, to your father's instruction. And my son, verse 10 of chapter 1, if sinful men entice you, don't give in to them. And then it goes on, chapter 2, my son, if you accept my words. Chapter 3, my son, do not forget my teaching. Chapter 4, it changes voice to the voice of the grandfather rather than the father now speaking. My sons, listen to a father's instruction. Pay attention and gain understanding. Verse 3, for I too was a son to my father, still tender and cherished by my mother. Then he taught me and said to me, take hold of these words with all your heart. And it goes on, chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 7, all of these wise advice and observations of a father, grandfather, directed towards the son. And that's in a sense what makes chapter 31 really special. Because yes, it's still, the son is still the focus, but the voice in chapter 31 changes. Because we have at the beginning of chapter 31, the sayings, yes, of King Lemuel. But why were they the sayings of King Lemuel? Because They were an inspired utterance his mother taught him. I love that. And suddenly we have, at the very end of this book of wisdom, the voice of a woman speaking it, like putting the last word in, ending it all. And to bring it all together, the voice switches to this mother. And Hebrew literature, I just want to explain this. Sorry, I'm going to get a bit technical. So hang in there with me in it for a moment, because it just helps. It helps to work this out. But Hebrew literature is nearly always structured from the lesser to the greater. So we start off in creation, with the world being shapeless and void. And then by the end, we have the creation of man and woman. And, well, actually, what happens there? Who's the last person to get created in the creation account? Woman. So from the lesser to the greater, to the greatest at the very end of the list. And same here is happening in Proverbs. We start out at the beginning of Proverbs with this, this son who needs to learn a lot. And then at the end is what is usually regarded as the very greatest. And this is further emphasized here in Proverbs 31 by something that you'll easily miss in your Bible translation, because it'll just be, I bet, if it's there at all, it'll be a tiny footnote on verse 10 in your in the margin of your Bible, and there'll be something there that says something like verse 10 to 31 is an acrostic poem. So what does that mean? And Cameron, can you just pop up the letters? Yeah. So what the acrostic poem means is that it's an A to Z. It's an A to Z. It takes each of these verses takes one letter consecutively of the Hebrew alphabet and start the word at the beginning of the sentence. The word at the beginning of that verse starts with that letter. So it's Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, and so it goes on. A, B, C, D, E, F. Now, can you imagine the difficulty? It's not an easy thing to do. Try thinking of a word starting with Q, or that's appropriate anyway, or a word that, is, you get the idea, won't you? Or Z. Trying to think of the right one, what are you going to say about a zebra and woman? No, it's not going to work. But that's the skill of the poet here. The skill of the poet here, and it accentuates the fact that we've gone from lesser to greater, and then at the end, the greatest, in the sense that all these sayings of King Lemuel's mother in relation to womanhood are an A to Z. But they also emphasize completeness. Like this is a complete account. It's an A to Z. It covers all the ground. It is perfect. It's complete. It's like a sense of wholeness that comes into this. Everything here to say has been said in a sense. The A to Z is presented. So Proverbs along the way has presented life divided between two ever-present paths. And those actually have been represented through the book of Proverbs, if you read it, between two very strong female figures. We have woman wisdom, who is calling all the time to this young man, come and follow my ways. Come and seek wisdom. Come and find what I have to give you, which is worth more than anything else you'll ever know. Come close to me. And then we have willful folly, who's always trying to lure the young man into other situations that are not going to be helpful, because they're mirrored, these two figures on either pathway that can be taken in life. They're mirrored by the adulteress that is warned about in chapters 1 to 9. this seductive, alluring, but ultimately lethal figure who who really stands to draw, in a sense, those things, the follies of youthfulness, and of just playing to the appetites of the heart and where that can lead for this young man. And then on the other side, the other mirror of these figures is the person that we find here in chapter 31, the wife of noble, or really maybe it would actually be better translated as valorous, the woman of valor. It's not really a very used word, though, is it? So the woman of courage, the woman who is bold and brave, the woman of courageous character found here in chapter 31. So, working from the lesser to the greater, in these lessons of life, the young man's greatest, or wisdom's greatest helper to a young man making his way in a difficult and dangerous world is, according to King Lemuel's mum, is going to be a faithful and wise life partner. By modeling so much of what Proverbs points to this woman, it holds not only she doesn't hold, she models so much of what Proverbs has to say, and so she holds not only her home and family together, but actually this woman, and this is staggering, I think, when you look back across 3,000 years and more. This woman is presented not only as holding her home together, not only as holding her family together, but also of making an incredibly important contribution to the wider world and society, to making the world a better place. Just as each of you here today can do so in your own lives and worlds, and do so in your own lives and world. So with all this kind of, the other thing that I want to just sort of really help you to understand is, please don't be intimidated by this super mum. It's presented here in verses 10 to 31. That's absolutely not the idea. That's not what Proverbs is aiming at. That's not what it's trying to do. She's not trying to intimidate us. She is a celebration, a 3,000-year-old celebration of womanhood, of what womanhood can achieve, of the essential and vital place of women in society. So be inspired by this amazing woman, and realize that your life, in some respect or other, definitely will, you'll find aspects of your life that mirror hers. You might not be like her in every respect, but you will find aspects of your life that you go, yep, I do that. And realize that that's to be celebrated. So I read this week, and I just thought I'd pass this on. I read this week of a young woman who joined a Christian dating app, and she was being asked on this app if she was a Proverbs 31 woman. This is mansplaining if ever you can get there, eh? So they were asking, are you a Proverbs 31 woman? And I just thought she was brilliant in the response that she thought of, because she got back, she without missing a beat, it seems, she got back to them and she said, I am. Are you a Proverbs 1 to 30 man? I thought that's about as it should have been. So let's look at some of the key qualities of womanhood that King Lemuel's mum, wish we had her name, eh? It would have been nicer if she didn't have to be called King Lemuel's mum, but King Lemuel's mum points to as she celebrates womanhood. The first thing I can see in these verses is that this woman is a wise and faithful life partner. She is a wise and faithful life partner. We've got a slide that goes with this. Her husband, verse 11, has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. Later in verse 23, after accounting for the different things that she does, the way in which she makes contributions to business and to society and to caring for the poor and looking out for people and looking out for her household, but people beyond her household, it says there in verse 23, her husband is respected at the city gate. Why is he respected at the city gate? What she does. Because of who she is, because of all that she achieves in society, her luster, the value that she gives rubs off on him, and he gets to, in a sense, bask in some of that. But he's respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She has a voice in his presence there that actually enables, because she enables that to happen. Because actually it takes a team. It takes a team to endure life together. And we can work at that. And whoever it is that contributes in your life, I'm sure there'll be a woman somewhere in your life that helps and has helped and will continue to into the future. So this woman is a wise and faithful life partner. But then secondly, the second thing that King Lemuel's mum seems to observe is that she is an industrious and successful businesswoman. And there in the verse 18, we have this wonderful verse. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp doesn't go out at night. Now, we live in an age where we're always told, aren't we, to switch the lights off. And, we don't want to, we get told off if we walk out of a room and leave a light on. But in the age that this was written, darkness was feared. And so people very often would sleep with a light on through the night, because there wasn't a way you could reach for a torch in the middle of the night or find a light easily in the middle of the night. So a lamp would be kept lit in a home, but you needed to have a certain level of well-being, of kind of economic background to yourself in order to do that. The very poor people, the very needy folk, they couldn't do that. But this woman, she is able, because her trading is profitable, her lamp does not go out at night. Her home is a place of security and light. It's a place where no one has fear, because actually this place is a protected place. This place has been made the way it is by who she is, by what she has done. Look at some of the things she does. She selects wool and flax in verse 13. She works with eager hands. She's like merchant ships bringing her food from afar. So she's working in industrious and able to do things, make things herself, but she's also out there sourcing what's needed, dealing with things. Verse 16, she considers a field and buys it. I think this is pretty stunning stuff, given the fact that this is written, all that time ago. Even in our own country, this would have been a challenge just a few hundred years ago. And yet this woman is considered capable and able and wise, because she considers a field, buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. Her trading is profitable, and her lamp doesn't go out at night. This woman is industrious, and she is successful, just like so many of you. You work hard, and you provide for your families in this same way. And life is a juggle. It's like that you don't stop needing to do all the other things that come at you, all the demands of raising children and dealing with a home and life in general. And yet you managed to squeeze that in. And then look, here's another picture. This woman is, yes, she's industrious and successful, but she's also a loving and committed mum. Verse 15. She gets up while it's still night. She provides food for her family. Yeah, this is the kind of super mum bit, isn't it? You know, you're like, whoa, maybe you're not a morning person, but you stay up at night, right? And you deal with everything that needs to be dealt with. Look at verse 21. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. Now, you maybe we missed some of this because, in those days, having your clothes dyed any color was quite an achievement. It took some extra expense, and scarlet was one of those colors that was particularly expensive. It was the sort of high-end fashion side of things, and this woman. She so looks after her family. She so enables them that actually all her family are not just clothed. They're not just clothed against the cold and able to withstand it, but no, they're clothed in scarlet. They wear the best things. Because why? Because she wants them to have the very best. She wants them. She sees her role as being one who provides for her family. She's a loving and committed mother to her children. And then fourthly, we've got another picture here that she is a caring and considerate member of society. She's caring and considerate. Look at verse 20. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. Because she has stuff, she sees it's natural to her to share this kind of stuff. And I know that comes very much naturally to many of you as well. That, maybe maybe in all families are like my family in many respects, because I'm not always very super good at realizing the needs of others, of knowing that I need to actually respond to them in some way or other. I tell you, I'm very, very thankful that I have a wife who is good at that, who does prompt me and remind me to deal with that. And I'm so glad that in my own life, I have that team that enables us to do so much better than I would have done by myself. But this woman, she doesn't only care for society in general. This woman, I think it's really important to note, look at verse 22. There's room here for her to look after herself. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her family is clothed in scarlet, but the most expensive cloth, the most expensive thing that is purple cloth. That's hard to get. That's very, very difficult to get hold of. That's quite elite. This woman, because of all she does, she does care for her family. She cares for the wider society, but she also cares for herself. And I wonder if that's a message that some of you need to hear today. That actually wisdom is not only about what you do out there, but wisdom is about what you do with your own well-being, how you look after your own well-being. And that's spoken to here as well. Finally, she is a praiseworthy person. She's a person, look at verse 26, she speaks with wisdom and faithful instruction is on her tongue. And I think what this means is that her words match her deeds. She is a wonderful, wonderful person who is able to, what she says is what she does. And it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. There's so much that this woman teaches us all. And I hope that you can see elements of your own life and your achievements celebrated in this woman of of Proverbs 31. I hope you men are more appreciative of the women who are in your life, who have made and continue to make such a big difference. But remember the key verse of Proverbs from back in chapter 1, verse 7. Just want to take you there for a moment. Chapter 1, verse 7. The fear, this is a very key verse. It's going to help us understand and unlock Proverbs in general. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Now remember what we said about fear, that it's about, we find it difficult to translate that word, but it means respect, honor, understanding. Well, this is what the fear of the Lord, this is what the respect and honoring of God looks like when it's lived out. She's presented as a model of what that looks like. And verse 30 maybe helpfully punctures the impossible expectations of social media and society today, expectations that say you must look a certain way and present the right image. There's just no room for that here. Listen to what this says. Charm is deceptive, beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. A woman who respects and honors the Lord. In the words of verse 25, such a woman isn't distracted by the latest fashion brands, but is clothed with strength and dignity. And knowing the Lord, knowing Yahweh, the maker of heaven and earth, is on her side, that allows her to laugh at the days that are to come. Because whatever they bring, for good or for ill, hope always, always rests beyond them. My eyes are not on what I see in front of me, she says, but my eyes are on the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth, who is on my side, who is for me. So it is that this woman, daughter, wife, mother, businesswoman, friend, she points us all to what is most important in life. What's that? Our relationship with God. So this Mothering Sunday, just like we on Friday there, this as we've celebrated International Women's Day, let this amazing woman here at the end of Proverbs, this summation of what wisdom looks like in reality, in applied ways, let her point us all to what really, really matters: a relationship with God. And then that's why today we can celebrate, give thanks for the ways in which each of you women here today, do the same for us. That you help us to understand and see that actually, yeah, all this stuff is great. All the things you do is great. But what really matters is how close you are to Jesus. What really matters is how well you know him. What really matters is how well you follow him. I think it's not a surprise then, having read Proverbs 31, looked at it, it's not a surprise, is it? That the people who first spoke about Jesus to others, the people who first declared him risen, the people who first, who hung on when all the men ran away, they were women. And their job has been achieved because we're here today. So the last word, the Z, which is tav, the letter tav in Hebrew, occurs in verse 31, and it should go to our woman speaking there, King Lemuel's mom. Listen to what she says. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. Why? Because she loves the Lord, because she honors God, because she fears the Lord, and that shapes all of her life. So, my friends, women, men, boys, girls, whoever, all of us here today, let us be inspired by this woman and let our lives be modeled on her life, a life that is modeled in relationship to God. Andrew.